public hearing in regards to the 2021 Cumberland County CDG and home funding plan. So Chris, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Commissioners. Yeah, we want to discuss the process for the program year 2021 annual action plan for the home and CDG programs. First thing we did, starting in August, was notify municipalities and nonprofit organizations about the availability of funding for housing and economic activities. We then had put an ad in the newspaper notifying the public of our first public hearing to assess what the needs of the community were. We did have some participation from the public, and those comments will be put into the annual action plan along with our responses. Then we requested applications from municipalities and nonprofit organizations. Those applications were submitted, and we reviewed those, staff reviewed those applications to make sure they were all in compliance with federal requirements. And then the next step in the process was to prepare proposed use of funds for the block grant income program. That document was presented to the county commissioners, and also we did a display out of this paper listing all the funding categories that we propose to use funding for. And then the next process we have to do is the second public hearing, which we're doing today, to again encourage public participation and get the public's comment on our proposed use of funds. Once we do that, we will have to ask the commissioners to approve the annual action plan at the commissioners meeting, and then we have to put it to HUD. Normally, what we would do is with the annual action plan to HUD in mid-November. However, since the federal budget has not been approved by Congress, HUD requires that we hold off on submitting the action plan until the actual dollar amount for both programs is known. So we did our action plan based on an estimate from last year's funding levels. So what normally happens is when we have the federal budget, they take that amount that was allocated to the block grant and home program, you run the formula based on that congressional approved amount, and allocate the money across the nation to all eligible states, cities, and counties. Since we do not have a firm number, we're not committed to submit the action plan. So unfortunately, this delays our program and delays the start of our program year. Normally, we're set to start our program year on January 1st. However, this same situation has occurred the past couple of years, and we have not been able to start our program year until July or August, which really impacts our municipalities, nonprofit organizations. So that's the basis of the process for the annual action plan. I'll go over some of the funding categories. Public facilities improvement, and this is a combination of both the block grant funding and the home program funding. We propose to allocate $512,000 to public facilities improvement. For public services, we're looking to allocate $165,000 to public services that benefit Cumberland County residents, all Cumberland County residents that are low moderate income. Now we're also limited in how much money we can allocate for public services to 15% of our block grant funding. On the housing side, we're looking to propose the $400,250 for housing activities. This involves personal home buyers program, money to rehab properties, and also for developers to develop affordable housing, again, across the county. On the rehab of housing, again, income limits still apply, and so again, the benefit is for low-moderate income individuals. Also, we're proposed to allocate $87,000 for code enforcement in several municipalities in Cumberland County. The goal here is to alleviate existing blight and prevent further decline in the housing stock in low moderate income neighborhoods.
Stacy for the County Commissioners Workshop.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the October 15, 2020 Cumberland County Commissioners Virtual Workshop Meeting. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance by saying, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I call this meeting to order at 9:08 a.m. and at this time open up the floor to public comment. Hearing none, seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 3. And I'll ask Chris Rafferty if he has any additional comments regarding the program year 2021 Cumberland County CDBG and home funding recommendation. Chris?
Good morning, Commissioners. So as indicated, the action plan for 2021 has been submitted to you for review and approval, and we did have a second public hearing in compliance with all program requirements. Once we include any public comments, we got the last public hearing, we can respond to those. We'll have the county commissioners take action at their next early scheduled board meeting.
Thank you, Chris. Commissioners, do you have any follow-up? Move on to agenda item number 4, which is contracts and grants, with agenda item 4.1a and b, consisting of existing contracts, contract extensions, or addenda, with no additional cost or increase to the county for drug and alcohol and for prison operations. Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding any of these agreements? Hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 4.2, which consists of new contracts, vendors, services, grants, and contracts with increases and decreases to the county. And I'll start by calling on Christine Bowden to discuss the 4 agreements for aging and community services. Christine?
Good morning. The first 2 contracts with East Tinsboro and B&A are with our senior centers. This is to provide additional operating costs to them for the 1920 year. Both are receiving $9,934. One may be receiving just a cash bit less than that, due to the amount of money we have left. We were not able to give them that whole amount, so it's like 40 cents left. So that's what the first 2 are. The second 2 is Faithful Home and B&B Home Care are personal care providers for our consumers who receive services. We are having a problem that is a statewide problem with providers not having workers. So we're adding on these 2 providers to help us to be able to provide services to the consumers in Cumberland County.
Do you have any questions for Christine, Commissioners?
Yeah, the last 2, what is the $18.50 for? Is this an hourly fee or what?
That's the hourly rate, yes.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for Christine? Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Next, I'll call on Lori Glaze to discuss the PA DEP Environmental Education Grant. Lori?
Good morning. Hi. This grant is from the Pennsylvania Department of Education. It's an environmental grant to provide rain-to-drain stormwater kits to our educators within the county. We have 80 listed in the grant, and then the other part of it is providing 4 water table kits to do stream education. The total grant awarded was $2,942, and it was awarded in June, and it's in the contract phase.
Any questions for Lori?
No.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Next, I'll call on Mark Adams to discuss the agreement for IMTO. Mark?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a contract for a software called Awaited Live, and that is a application that allows departments to schedule appointments with the public and essentially send them a text message
Next, a call on Andrew Benner to discuss the Pennsylvania Juvenile Court Judges Commission grant.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is actually an existing contract. I'm not exactly sure, or a grant, I'm not sure why. This year it's been a little different coming through this process. I just want to let you know that we've been receiving this grant since, I believe, 2010, 2011. I've attached in your packet that I circulated, as I've done in years past, the implementation plan that we put in place with regards to our evidence-based practices. As long as we continue to meet the guidelines of our evidence-based practices and implementation of those programs, we will continue to receive this grant. It's for $247,125, which is the same amount that we received last year and I believe in several years past. The only thing that I would mention that differs this year is the initial amount will be for $88,137.63, and that's due to the 5-month passage of the state budget. Once they finalize the budget for the next year, we will get the remaining amount, and it's my understanding that it will total our amount of $247,125.
Any questions for Andy?
No.
And Andy, I do have on my list, we just need to document why the grant was able to
Sure.
sort of circumvent that process, so
Yeah.
it is on the list for us to figure out.
No, that's fine, and I'll continue, I do circulate the packet with where all the signatures need to be, because there's a lot of signatures that go on that document, so, hopefully we can get that back, and as soon as I can get that submitted, we'll be able to get that access to those funds.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
So it's the same thing if anybody forgets about COVID.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I'll call on Annie Stroy to discuss the fiscal year 2020-2021 agreements for NHIDD.
Good morning, everyone. I only have one contract, it's the size of the one, but it's with Mayor Keith Stevens Center. They've been one of our largest mental health providers for many, many years. The contract total is $2,797,801. This year for 2021, we're requesting an increase of $18,551. And largely that equates to attempting to raise some of the residential salaries for staff so we can keep and maintain a qualified workforce. Similar to what the aging office was saying, we're having difficulty hiring and keeping qualified staff. Do you have any questions?
No.
Thank you, Annie.
Thank you.
Next, I'll call on Claudia Garner to discuss the federal fiscal year 2020 Emergency Management Performance Grant. Claudia?
Morning, everyone. Public Safety is seeking your approval of a grant agreement for the federal fiscal year 1920 Emergency Management Performance Grant, known as EMPG. That is from FEMA. We applied for this in January, and we're happy to report an award amount of up to $104,561. This is a federal funded pass-through from FEMA from the Department of Homeland Security, and it has a performance period of October 1, 2019 through September 30 of 2020. The funding is used to offset the personnel costs for 2 of our positions of our emergency management staff. Part of the deliverables of this reimbursable grant include quarterly reporting and invoicing sent to FEMA, an approved annual statement of work, and participation in training and workshops. We apply for this grant funding each year, and historically we've seen approximately a $1,300 reduction each year. However, this year's grant award is the same as last year's. Any questions on that?
Okay, thank you, Claudia.
You're welcome. Have a good day, everyone.
You too. Next, I'll call on Kirk Stoner to discuss the recycling and waste contract. Kirk?
Sure, Commissioners, this is a revenue contract with Penn Township. They would like to enter into our yard waste recycling program whereby the county buys equipment and then we lease that out to our municipal partners to use that to grind yard waste into mulch for our residents to use. Penn Township was a past participant in the program. They had a contract that was executed in 2007. With a new contract, they would like to come back into the program, and with this contract, they can enter and have access to the equipment.
Any questions for Kirk?
They were out of the program then?
The last they used the equipment was 2007, and they haven't used it since, so we want to make sure that they have an updated contract.
All right.
request to reject all bids for the tax bill printing. Robin? We can't hear you, Robin. Are you on a laptop or are you on a desktop computer? I don't know why I'm asking her, we can't hear her.
Kind of interesting.
She said desktop.
Ah, okay, so, Robin, can you please, give me, no, I cannot. Can you call us, what's the extension here?
I have no clue.
We're gonna give you an extension to call. I don't believe you have a microphone on your computer. Say it on
Here, just call my number.
here. Okay.
Don't say this out loud.
That's the only way we can,
Let me,
or can you just, we can, are you with me first?
you can email it to her.
Okay, yeah, email that to her.
I'll put it on speaker.
Email to who or chat to who?
Email, whichever,
You can just put it in the chat for her.
Put it in
Yeah.
the chat.
So we're sending you, a phone number to call. It'll be in the chat within Zoom.
So call this number. Okay. Can you hear us?
I can.
Yes.
Okay, so if you wanna go ahead and discuss the request.
We are asking, that you reject the 3 bids we received, for the tax bill printing for 2021.
Can you provide some rationale, please?
Yeah, why is that?
Yeah, sure. During our review, we found that, one vendor did not comply with the RFP requirement. And, after reviewing references, we did not feel that these vendors, could successfully meet our tax bill printing needs.
Are these different vendors than we've had before?
Yes, the one was bought out the previous vendor, but was not the low bidder,
Okay.
and we really don't know anything about, we didn't know anything about any of the vendors, so we did review references and so forth, and just, we do have a pre-bid meeting with them to, you know, lay out exactly what's involved and to try to get a feel for their understanding of the complexity. And that's why we decided to also review references and just did not feel that these vendors will, be a good, vendor for this, undertaking.
What does this do to us schedule-wise?
What we are going to, work with purchasing to find a co-star vendor, and we don't even begin providing the actual data until, you know, the second week of January, so we need to complete the process. You know, right now, we need to keep moving, but we're not behind.
Okay. All right, so we need action on this today, I assume.
Yeah, you need to reject this.
And, I think we may have further questions on this later, once we have time to digest this a bit. So, at this point, unless there's further questions, I'll entertain a motion to reject the bids.
I'll move to reject all bids for the tax bill printing for discussion this morning.
I'll second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, keep us up to date on, keep us up to date on how it rolls out, please.
I will, thank you.
Yep, thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Robin. Next I'll call on Keith Brenneman to discuss the Tax Claim Bureau's repository sale consent.
Commissioners, you've been asked to consent to the sale of some properties that were provided in the list to you with a letter. These are properties that are not sold first at the upset tax sale, and secondly, they go to the judicial sale, and again, those properties did not sell at the judicial sale, so by law, it goes into the county tax claim bureau's repository of unsold properties, and they can be sold privately. So there are people interested in purchasing those properties. The benefit to consenting is that it puts the properties back on the tax rolls for real estate tax purposes. I think you've done this a number of times before. Any questions?
No, so that's a Monday action, right?
Right, it's not urgent, you don't have to do it today.
Thank you, Keith. Next, we have agenda item 7, which is a request from the Bureau of Elections. They would like to expand business hours on 2 dates, Saturday, October 24th from 8 a.m. to noon, and on Thursday, October 29th from the end of regular business hours at 4:30 p.m. until 8 p.m. to allow voters to hand deliver mail-in and absentee ballots to the Bureau of Elections. I would like to point out that during those expanded hours, no other voter services would be provided. Commissioners, do you have any questions about the request? And I would also like to point out this is an action requested item today, if you have no questions.
Okay, there's no questions, so we'll entertain a motion to approve the expanded hours.
I'll make a motion to approve expanding hours at the Cumberland County Bureau of Elections on Saturday, October 24th from 8 a.m. to noon, and on Thursday, October 29th from the end of regular business hours at 4:30 p.m. until 8 p.m. for the hand delivery of mail-in and absentee ballots only.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Other questions? I have one. Keith, I assume that the additional expense involved in this is sort of just baked into that authorization.
Correct.
Maybe separate.
Yes.
All right, okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any opposed? Motion carries. And we'll be sending notification out to the media, public works.
Next, I'll call on Holly Sherman to discuss the Cumberland County merit-based hiring system and the related documents. Commissioners, please note this is an action requested item as well. Holly?
Morning, Commissioners. As discussed multiple times with the past 2 years, we have finally come to the point where we have been approved by DHS and the Office of Administration to exit the civil service program. So following that, we need to have public approval of the county's merit-based hiring system policy and procedure manual, the furlough and layoff policy, and then signing the PA Department of Human Services approval letter to terminate the existing state civil service agreement effective for
Okay. My other question is, for the solicitor, we do these all together, or do we need separate actions?
You can do it all together.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion then in regards to the proposal.
So I will move, to approve the following documents related to the Cumberland County merit-based hiring system. The first is the merit-based hiring system procedure manual effective October 8th, 2020. The second is the merit-based hiring system furlough policy effective October 8th, 2020. And the third and final being the Department of Human Services approval letter to terminate the existing state civil service agreement effective October 8th, 2020.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any further questions? Not, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'm gonna call on Holly Sherman again to discuss the appointment of the Cumberland County Merit-Based Hiring Alternative Dispute Resolution Panel. And commissioners, please note this is also action requested. Holly?
Thank you. As part of our merit-based hiring system policy and procedure, we have to have an alternative dispute resolution panel. These have to consist of human resource professionals as part of the community in 3 different categories. So we provided the resumes and the recommendations for the following individuals: Megan Ginter, Deborah Hargrove, and Joanna Ruby, to be part of our alternative dispute resolution board effective October 8th, 2020. Any questions?
I have none. I'll just mention, I did look at the resumes. We're very fortunate. You have assembled a good, very well qualified group. So, we'll entertain a motion in regards to the proposal.
I make a motion to approve the appointment of Megan Ginter, Deborah Hargrove, and Jonna Ruby to the Cumberland County Merit-Based Hiring Alternative Dispute Resolution ADR panel effective October 8th, 2020.
We have a second.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Agenda item number 10 is Commissioners' Liaison Reports, and I'll start by calling on Commissioner Eichelberger.
Okay, just briefly, of course, we received the latest CARES update at yesterday's finance meeting, and that continues to occupy a fair amount of the CADIC time for staff, and it will, even though we're pushing the money out. There's still a bunch of steps involved, so so you're up to date on that. Just wanted to mention we had both the Policy and Planning Committee meeting for CADIC and the Executive Committee meeting within the last week, and most of the events, most of the information will become evident as part of your board packet. But I did want to mention we had a lot of discussion about the strategic blueprint, which of course in the COVID environment has been taking us a considerable amount of time and has involved some revisions as well. But the core components of the blueprint, the mission, vision, and core values, and the strategic initiatives have all essentially been finalized. There's a little bit of tweaking or wordsmithing for a final document. We've decided to go ahead and at the November meeting, CADIC will be, the board will be voting on that, the board of directors will be voting on that and approving that, so that we have that in place and that staff can begin implementing. But the work plan, the specific work plans that originally were envisioned to be part of the blueprint document are going to continue to evolve and be implemented on a rolling basis through an active participation for the next year by the Policy and Planning Committee. They're going to meet on a more regular basis and work with CADIC staff on ensuring that the goals are realistic, that the performance indicators are valid and robust, and that the implementation achieves the results that we want, and it can be modified, however. So it's important to understand that we're getting away from the 5-year cycle, and we do a plan and then live with it. It's going to be more of an evolving, rolling activity in which the planning, rather than the plan, gets the emphasis, and we keep it up to date and kind of roll with the punches more, because we do expect a significant amount of change on the local and national economic landscape over the next few years. So that's a pretty important change. It'll be largely invisible to most people, except unless you're sitting on the Policy and Planning Committee, in which our folks have graciously agreed to undertake a significant commitment of really exercising a lot of oversight on the second phase of the blueprint, which is the real implementation aspects and refinement. So it's going to be continuous effort, more continuous than it has been in the past. So that's just for informational purposes at this point. The only other thing I have is MHID, which the board meeting is, the advisory board meeting is today. So that's at around noon time, and I'm planning to zoom in on that one, so that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Eichelberger. Next I'll call on Commissioner Fauci.
Morning, everyone. I'm sorry I'm not there in person. I have a pretty terrible cold, so I really didn't want to spread it around in that room. The first thing I have, that on Tuesday, October 20th, I will be speaking with the Climate Action Series #1 on local governance, setting the stage. And this is a Climate Action Series that is done in collaboration with our planning department and South Mountain Partnership, the Cumberland Conservation Collaborative, the Center for Land Use and Sustainability at Shippensburg University, and the Center for Sustainability Education at Dickinson College, as well as the Carlisle Borough. So I will be speaking. Heidi Kunka of the PA Department of Environmental Protection will be there. John Nernbach of Widener University Law School will be there. So we'll be speaking, and then there will be some question and answer time. But my piece, I will be talking about what the county is doing and is committed to doing and is thinking about doing in terms of climate change mitigation. One of the things we're going to talk about is our formation of our countywide climate change task force, as well as our greenhouse gas inventory project that we've got going on. But as I've been preparing for this speech, I really I'm thinking about all of those things that are going on in the county that are really contributing to a better environment. And one of the things that I think is really important is that at KDIC, which is one of our partners, we were talking about what kind of life we want to live in Cumberland County. What do we want our environment to be like? What kind of businesses do we want to attract here so that we can live a healthy life and have a healthy environment? So that is Tuesday, October 20th. You can register for that online. It begins at 6 p.m. And if you go to the Climate Action Series #1 or out to the planning website, you'll find the link for that registration. But that should be a really good event. We had a planning commission meeting this morning. I am happy to report that there is still a significant amount of land development going on in Cumberland County. I think it's positive when you think about the economy and what is going on with COVID-19. And I will remind everyone to please use the library. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Fauci. Commissioner DeFilippo.
Thanks, Stacy. The Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board met earlier this week. This board meets 3 times a year. First announcement is one of the board members, Ted Harold, has had to resign due to the fact he no longer lives in the county. So we will be looking for a replacement for Ted. Just a couple of updates. The town homes at Factory Square, which are 52 units located in Carlisle. This project is fully leased. The Carlisle Veterans Housing, here also in Carlisle, 42 units, is in process of leasing and will be fully leased by year end. And the Safe Harbor Smith Farm project in South Middleton, we don't have a total number of units yet, but pre-development loans have been approved. Project's working on submission on its low-income housing tax credit proposal, and I'll have more information on that, I hope, at next meeting. The Point in Sporting Hill, which is in Hampton Township, has 40 units. That project's been approved for low-income housing tax credit funding. The project's in land development process, and the construction date has not yet been determined. Later today, the Housing and Redevelopment Authority will meet. I will be attending. The County Ag Preservation Board meeting, which was to be yesterday, was canceled. Will be rescheduled in November. And just an
regarding personnel. Is there any other business to come before the board today? Hearing none, we will adjourn.